Thank you very much. Yes, I have Monsignor Sorondo.
Yes. You know, we have in the past year a meeting with the trade union of the transport. We say in Spanish, camioneros, the drivers. And I think it's very interesting to study the problem that have the English people today. What is the reason of this? Because this is very interesting also in relation with the Europe and the position of the Anglo-Saxon people in relation to the European countries today, and also the problem that have Biden to put all the Anglo-Saxon together. We don't know in what sense. So what is your explanation about the crisis of the drivers? Because something don't go well if we don't have transport. I agree with you that the transport need to convert it in electric transport, but this is another question, because the drivers can also guide the electric cars.
Okay, let's collect another question. Please.
May I? The question is not only about the incomes of and the decency of the jobs in terms of the incomes, but also what is the role of the worker in the new workplace? So will they always be only executing orders, or do they also participate in the this commonplace that the workplace is? So do you think that the Green Deal and the Just Transition is a good opportunity to also change the governance structure towards some kind of co-determination?
Thank you. Please, Esther.
So driving is a tough job. It's a lonely job. You're on the road, you're far from home. There's no toilets, there's nowhere to sleep, there's nowhere to wash. The only place you can get food is pretty awful. You do that every day of your life for a couple of years. The money used to be better than it is now. If you're driving, you're monitored within a second of your life. And the monitoring mechanisms, and then there are delivery targets that you just can't meet. And because so many of the drivers are now self-employed, fake arrangements, but they're self-employed, they personally pay the financial consequence if they're delayed in the delivery. And it used to be the case when you were a driver, you had somebody help you to unpack. That you can't afford that person now, you have to do it all yourself. So it's physically hugely demanding work. And the time has now changed, not from the time you show up with your delivery, it's when you have unpacked the. So all it takes is for somebody not to be there to let you in at the right time, and that's then taken away from your wages. So it's tough work with poor conditions, of which you bear far too much of the risk. And as I said, you're monitored within seconds of your life. And then put on top of that, the risk in the UK at the moment, you don't know whether you're going to be deported or not. Is it any wonder people don't want to drive a truck around the UK? Like, it shouldn't be a surprise. It's not politics, it's just the reality of the world of work in that sector. And I think also this, this idea that people are encouraged in the UK to think that they're better than everyone else is going to play out very badly in the coming years. That's just my sense. But that's much higher politics than for me. The improving the terms and conditions of delivery drivers is absolutely crucially important. And part of doing that is to make sure that they're recognized as employees and have access to working hours and breaks and facilities, basic welfare facilities. That's the way to get people back into driving trucks. But
what is exactly the problem?
exactly the problem is that there are other jobs available to people at the moment, which provide a certain wage at the end of the week, where you can have access to a toilet and where you can have a meal and you can have somewhere to sleep. So once those alternatives are there, people will not choose to that as a job in a hostile environment, which the UK is at the moment to people coming from other parts of Europe.
Thank you.
Just
No.
sorry, what was the other question?
And the governance.
Oh, the governance, yes. So thanks for giving me a chance to say this. Yes. So I think the question that was Helen asked as well, which relates to the technology, and how do we ensure that the human is in control and is always in control, could not be more relevant. And I would encourage this academy to become very active on that question. At the moment, the robots you work beside are bolted to the floor or are in a cage. For us to get to the future, they need to come out of those cages and not be bolted to the floor. But the question is, how do we make sure that humans are not then put under the control of robots? Because you're going to strap it to you to protect your back, to protect you from back-breaking work. But we need to make absolutely sure that that machine isn't then moving you around the room, you're moving with it. And at the moment, you can put technology on the market and get a patent for a machine that will control a human. That can't be right. They shouldn't even be being made. There are other questions relating to children. So children at the moment have an imaginary friend. And now with artificial intelligence, the imaginary friend is going to speak back to them. It's going to be inside the teddy bear. And what type of a future is that creating for all of us? So there's a lot of things to be frightened about technology. But that's, again, I would encourage, and I'd be very happy to be invited back and to speak at length about this, because there is no authoritative moral voice speaking on this question at the moment, and that needs to happen. Then in terms of solutions, I have spent my working life incapable of understanding a basic thing. Why do employers resist so much having workers and their unions active in finding solutions to the company? Because the reality in practice, if I look at my working life as a trade unionist, 85% of my life is spent helping employers come up with solutions. Real life problems that need solutions, that's what I'm in doing all the time. 15% of it is on the street causing trouble. Yeah, but very little of it is that. The vast majority of my working life is coming up with solutions, and every single solution that includes the worker in terms of their understanding of what's going wrong and how it can be put right will work. It will work fast and it will work cheap. And I think just getting that message out there is really important. And again, I think that the business schools and whatever is going on in business schools in the last 20 years, to teach a model which is all about keeping unions out and having as cheap as possible and management by fear rather than by cooperation, encouragement and motivation. Like there's something went very wrong about 20 years ago, because I'm meeting more and more managers who have no tools whatsoever in their toolkit in terms of managing the workplace other than fear. So I think it's the only way to counteract that now is to have strong legislation to make sure that workers can join a union without fear and have their right to collective bargaining properly recognized, including co-determination in the workplace. And I finally think on that we can't really talk about democracy as if democracy is only when you show up to vote every 4 years. Democracy has to be a lived experience every day, and the place you're going to live it in reality is in the workplace.
Thank you. So very quick question. There is a Mr. Spilimbergo first, and then you.
Thank you. This was very nice. presentation. I have a question. What will happen, in your opinion, if the transition goes on? You argue that the costs are grossly underestimated. So let's suppose that we ignore this euro and we go on with the transition. What do you think will happen? There is workers will go back and reject all the idea of transition, and there will be a new Trump.
Okay, please.
Okay, thank you. I hear in your message that the transition should be led by the workers or the communities and not only for the workers and communities. And now in terms of battles, which we heard about earlier on, what is at the moment, you think, like a vital battle regarding to the European Green Deal, in which is key for the workers' movement, but also for all the social movement which is present here? Thank you.
I think one of the most inspirational things I used to see every Friday was all the young people walking down the street and saying, you know, we want change, and we want a fairer future. So the thing about mobilizations, and this is to answer your question as well, the thing about mobilizations is they get out of your control. You know, you can't control them. Yeah. And the last thing Europe needs at the moment, and you have to worry about the games, the geopolitical games that are being played with energy and the price of energy, and this being a moment to play them games. If you have millions of people in Europe who feel let down by the promise of joining the European Union and what the European wants to stand for, it's easy to see how worse forces than Trump could easily mobilize that discontent. And we've seen that not so long ago before in Europe. So, I mean, I don't want to over dramatize things, but you have to have solutions for people, to mobilize people and say, that's where we find the solutions. If that's the direction we want to go, and that's how you get there, that's how you fit in, that's how your skills are going to be developed, that's how you can find a job, that's where your family can live, that's where, you know, like, unless you can bring it to that level of credibility for people, which is not at the moment, unless you can do that, well, then somebody else will come in and mobilize people, and it could go either way, couldn't it?
Okay. I think also for the second question, we can go back afterwards in the general discussion, if it's okay. And